So yesterday we compared the 450 YZ against the 250 WR, and we said okay, the WR is quite heavy compared to the YZ. So I said okay, well, we already did the comparison against the Husaberg 450 and the Husky one of 350. So then why don't we compare the YZ against two strokes? So we have here a 2016 250X from Yamaha. So it's got a recluse clutch on it, and it's got a brand new top end, and it's a very racy bike. It's got wonderful Kayaba SSS forks and Kayaba shocks. And here we have a 2007 KTM 200 EXC. Wonderful bike, very light. It's on a 125 chassis and very light and very powerful. So want to know how a 450, which I felt the best handling bike in this conditions, how would that perform when we compared it against two strokes? So that's what we're gonna find out today. So the conditions are all different today. The snow is gonna be wet because it warmed up a lot. We got a lot of sunshine today, so we will see how it compares. So once again, we'll take the same lines. Quite tight, very easy. I'm able to like do a static balance so easily. It must be like the big mass of this engine that goes up and down that it allows me to just stay, you know, like just stay on the bike static and not move, and that gives so much balance. And obviously you can see the conditions are a lot different. The ground is freaking wet, so it's not the same. It's not the same. But when you go out and ride in spring, this is how it's gonna be. You know, it's going to be wet. Like right here, it's slippery, and you may want to like stay out of the mud holes. So you gotta like take it easy. You know, you can't go full throttle. I obviously can't go full throttle on this bike right now. There's way so much dirt I will have. Well, I already have on my bike, but I'm feeling very comfortable. Second gear, I'm guessing I'm in second gear, lugging it, you know, no problem lugging second gear. And the balance on the bike, back to first. So the balance on the bike, what I meant by that is just, you know, me moving the bike left to right underneath me, it feels so easy. Kind of overcooked it there. I wasn't paying attention, but so this bike I could take to a gnarly single track, and I could dial the power down, you know, and I could just coast and put the bike wherever I want and ride. So I don't think it'll tire me out if I dial the power down. I don't have a lot of engine braking, so when I let go of the gas, I don't get like jerked front and back, you know, like I could easily modulate my my throttle and not go front to back to front all the time. So I like that. When a 4-stroke does that, I really like it, because most 4-stroke sometimes it has this lurchy feel. So when you give it gas, it lurches forward, and then when you get off the gas, it gives you this massive engine braking, which I absolutely hate. So now, how would that compare against a 250 2-stroke with a recluse clutch? Obviously a very light bike, So I just warmed it up a little bit before, so it should start. You can see the throttle response is very good. I don't want to have like dirt all over. I'm not going to do anything crazy. I just want to feel, oh, this feels like a mountain bike now compared to that 450. This is like a, when we talked about static balance, this is like the ultimate, you know. So maybe that 450 is probably the best one I could balance standing up and go through like technical terrain. But when it comes to, see, I could go faster here. I just don't want dirt all over my bike right now because my faucets are all like closed. I cannot do a power wash right now in the winter. But I can tell you, this bike, I could take it tight. Just depends on your ability. And with that recluse, it's good. But this is a very racy bike, and what I mean by that is the power band on this is quite snappy. See, it just wants to like go. It's not like, so if you ride modern KTM 2-strokes, especially the 300 and maybe even the 250 to some extent, they have a very 4-stroke feel. On this bike, the rear end wants to let loose or let go as soon as you give it gas, because just the way the power hits, you know, it hits real hard and it hits very fast. So what I mean by that is this one and the Husky one, a 350 that I have, they feel similar. The power, when it comes in rapid, you know. On the other hand, I have a KTM 300, and the power on that is more like a thumper, you know. It's like thump thump thump, like that kind of power. On this, it's like immediately as soon as you give it gas, it wants to like break traction, go sideways, and yeah, it wants to go fast. It doesn't mind going slow, but it's either slow like this, like, you know, putzing around, or the power is right there and it wants to go. So keep that in mind when you buy a 250X. It's not your KTM, it's not your Sherco, it's not your Beta. It's actually the YZ motocross bike to the core, and that's what it is. So it feels very light because it is a light bike and it's a 2-stroke, and this one's got the recluse and whatnot from the previous owner, but fundamentally it's still a YZ. Okay, so keep that in mind. Well, now it's dirty. Crap. So this is a 200 KTM. Very light. The clutch is very light, it's hydraulic clutch, and I haven't ridden this bike in a long time. First gear is pretty short, very short. When I say very, it's like granny gear or the crawling type of gear. The main difference I see between this bike and the 250 YZ is the geometry is a lot different. This one almost set up for me to stand. The YZ, it makes me want to like crouch a little bit more of an attack position on the YZ 250X, but on the KTM I feel it's This is more of a bike that you just want to like stand and go through some tough terrain like that. So the turning radius on this is not as good. I hit like the bar end lock very quickly. I don't feel comfortable pushing this bike very fast. Somehow I feel very weird on this 200 and some of the older KTMs. You know, people say you feel like you're sitting on the bike, in the bike. I definitely feel like I'm on it, you know, like I'm on it and the bike is much lower to the ground and I'm like completely on top of it. Whatever it may be, when I go fast on this, I feel like this has a very short wheelbase. It's just this twitchy mountain bike feeling, and I almost feel like my weight is directly on top of the front wheel, you know. It's great when you're doing like technical hill climbs or technical enduro style riding. You have a lot of like control. I'll stall it, but in general, if you want to go very fast, the geometry is weird. I would definitely call it weird for fast riding. For example, if I take it to a motocross track, I'm not like a motocrosser, but if anybody who does motocrossing, if they sit on this, they'll feel awkward. They might feel weird, you know. So that's what I was going to say. So if you ask me, I feel very comfortable on that 450. Even though these bikes feel very light, you know, they feel incredibly light, like a mountain bike. I never had to like fight that 450 in any condition. It was happy. I'm not going over it. It's just a lot of dirt. So I never had to like fight the 450, and it just wanted to just keep going. No drama whatsoever. So I don't know. I know it feels weird saying I feel comfortable on a heavy bike, but yeah, it's the fact, you know. I think if I spend some time on that 450, I might feel very good about it. If I do the right mods, when I say mods, adjust the suspension, just the clickers, it doesn't feel very harsh anyways. Detune the power a little bit more. Yeah, if I put like a kickstand on it and handguards, it might be as good as or even better than this Husaberg. This feels very heavy. Maybe I'll go give it another. I'll go and see. Why not? And I might even want to start this thing and see how that feels. So it's on map number 1. Let that fuel evaporate. And one more time. Okay, let that warm up. We'll take this one and see how it feels. I love the geometry on this. This one is just set up to stand. You know, like my arms are at the right distance, and everything. It's just that it's got a lot of mass, and that mass, front to back, it's a lot of weight, but that doesn't mean you cannot control. Like you saw there, the mass is all between my legs and it feels nice and comfortable. the power on this is the mildest of all the bikes, and of course I have it in standard setting. I'm gonna put it in mild now. It's extremely mild, so it feels very, very gentle, but you do feel the weight. Okay, that's what I gotta talk about. I do feel the weight on this. No matter what people say, the 70-degree engine, yes, it's heavy. Okay, fundamentally, is it as heavy as some of the adventure bikes? No, it's not. You know, I could still throw this around, but with the soft suspension and everything, you feel the weight. So second gear. Lost the front end. Told you how I feel very uncomfortable on the front. So I lost the front, it slid. I just gave it a little power and it slid completely, and I had to like dab my feet and regain control. So that's one thing I don't like about this bike, especially in these tricky conditions. I could lose the front end. I never lost the front end on the YZ, so you cannot tell that it's me. I'm doing the same thing on all the bikes, and this one let go. Is it the tires? No, because it's got a good decent sized knob. See, even there the front end just slid out from underneath me. Why? I don't know. Something to do with the weight distribution, something to do with the geometry, something with my body position on the bike because of the way the ergonomics is set up. But that means this bike will get a lot of traction, because if all that weight is on the rear tire, you know, that means when the going gets real tough, probably again the front end wanted to just wash. It just wanted to like wash, especially when you have some kind of steering angle. The bike wants to push, the rear wants to push, and the front wants to slide. It's like having a rear wheel drive car, or maybe a front wheel drive car actually, where you turn into a corner and it just wants to keep going. Straight. So this bike wants to keep going straight, and that's what I feel uncomfortable in these kind of situations. So maybe in other situations it's better, I don't know. Now finally, this is a play bike, way too much power. Bike's warmed up, got a recluse, extremely light. So this bike I compare to that YZ250, 1-to-1. The only thing is this is a 4-stroke and way more crazy power than that YZ, and the YZ is a 2-stroke. Apart from that, the way how low the bike feels and how easy the chassis is to throw left to right, and how the bars are a little lower, and the way the power hits, you know, it hits hard and it hits like mad, and it hits very fast. So the rear wants to step out. As soon as that power comes in, the rear has no business staying in line. So you gotta like modulate. So where is this bike good? This bike is good when you have lots of traction. When you're not running on like wet ground like this, you know, when you're going fast, when you're not standing like this and doing like tight turns and trying to like control that power, feather that power, not a good bike in my opinion. So people who only have this bike, okay, so this is the thing. You might ask somebody and they're owners of this, the 350, and they'll say, oh, my bike is perfect, this is great. Maybe that's the only bike they've ever ridden, and so they've gotten used to that bike, okay, or they have set it up differently, the handlebar, the geometry, or whatever they've done to the bike, they've set it up differently, and they've tuned the bike one way or the other for the power. So I have a recluse clutch, and it's supposed to be smoother, and the rear wants to break loose, okay? So there's no, and now it's the complete opposite of that Husaberg. The Husaberg wanted to grip on the rear, and it wanted to push on the front. This one, the front end bites better, okay? The front end bites better, but the rear end wants to slide. And I think that's where the YZ450 shines. It's neutral. The bike is very neutral. It's not trying to push, it's not trying to slide. It's trying to like get traction and move forward without drama. So I really like, maybe that's what I'm looking for as a word. It feels neutral to me, and in terms of like having to take it to some gnarly stuff, I believe if you have the right protection on the bike, maybe a cooling fan, you detune it, and then you ride it on technical stuff, and then you take it to the track later, you can still ride it on the track. So I'm very curious to try out how the new 250 version of the Yamaha with the slanted engine is. I haven't ridden it. I've had the 2013 version, but I still had the old style engine, so I haven't had a chance to ride the new version yet. So something to keep in mind for me. And yeah, one last time I'm gonna ride that Yamaha again, because after riding all these, if I ride it again, I can reiterate what I was talking about. So it's not a heavy bike to push. It's a tall bike. It's definitely tall. So if you can get one of these, tune it to your needs, and get the suspension dialed in, might be everything you need. So let's see. Immediately I feel very comfortable. It's tall. I can feel it's tall, and I can feel like I'm in the bike, not sitting on top of it. And from a balance standpoint, I could just let go of the clutch slowly. I don't even have to give it a lot of gas, and it goes. The front end, I'm not having to like worry about the front end, losing the front end. You know, for example, I'm turning here. I'm not having to worry about my front end washing out. I know it's gonna stick, and that's a big bonus when you know what your bike is gonna do. Okay, when you know what your bike is gonna do, you don't have to worry about the bike. You don't have to think about the bike. For example, when I turn here, for example, so I'm gonna make it slow, but it's not sliding on me. So, and obviously I'm going slower, but it's still not washing away from underneath me. I'll show you the exact point where the Husaberg slid out. So around here, right here, and I'm going fast. I'm going very fast, in fact, much faster. Second gear, lugging second gear. Oh, I was in third gear, I'm sorry. Now I'm in first. So this is second gear. So I was in third gear, in that straight, back to first. So here, when I turn, I'm not worrying about my front. I know it's gonna stick. I'm positioning my body like this. If at all it slides, but it didn't, you know. So here I'm doing like a counter. So I'm braking, and the front end will just brake. No comedy, you know, nothing to worry about. And that's what you want when you have to like take a bike and take it off-road in tricky conditions. You want the bike to be predictable. And if you always have to worry about what your front's gonna do, what your rear's gonna do, then you have a problem. It's not the right bike. Now, when we have like nice dry conditions, how is it all gonna feel? I don't know. Well, I'll ride it, you know, and maybe I'll take more bikes from storage and ride those and see how it feels. So as of now, I'm very, very happy with this bike. Now, what other bike that I have that'll compare to this one? In the 4-stroke category, the XR650R, it's not gonna compare, it's too heavy, right? XR400 maybe, but it's a heavy bike. So out of all the 4-strokes, I think I really don't have anything else that'll compare to the YZ450. So even after comparing all these bikes, unfortunately this is still the one that I feel comfortable taking laps after laps and not having to worry about the bike. I can just worry about enjoying the ride. I don't have to fear losing the front end and crashing, or having to fight the rear tire all the time, you know, sliding. It feels planted and it feels light enough to toss it around. I can make nice tight turns because I can obviously lean my body nicely, and it's well balanced. The power, it hits, you know, so I could detune it further. I detuned it a little bit, but I could do more. And for the woods, I could add a fan maybe, and that might be all it needs, just a fan. So that's it. There ends the review. We'll see when the ice melts and we have dry conditions. We'll try these bikes again and see how it goes. Cheers.